I have a question. How would you feel if someone wrote a fanfic about you? Some people might find it flattering. Other people might find it creepy. And some are just bloody annoyed by it. I mean, I know that I have been, but because I'm technically a fictional character, I guess I don't have a say in the bloody matter. However, Lady Gaga is a real person in my universe and in your universe. No matter what, she is real. She's not fictional like me. So I imagine she would have an opinion if people are writing fanfics about her. The two fanfics that I'm going to be taking a look at today are not good at all. They have a lot of things in common. Obviously, they're both about Lady Gaga. They both only have one review. And they're both one-shots. Oh yes, and they're both rated M, although one of them really shouldn't have been rated M, but we'll get into that in a bit. The first story I'm going to be taking a look at is called Toaster Face. This one was requested by Milo Kitty. Yes, that's right, Milo Kitty is one of my viewers. Lucky me. At least the story she requested is short. It's only roughly 900 words. The second story, which I sought out, is over 6,000 words, close to 7,000, but not quite 7,000. The reason why I sought out the other story was because this story, the original request, is too short. It's only 900 words, so I have to have, an episode that has some substance to it. So I figured if this story's about Lady Gaga, I might as well look for another one about Lady Gaga. And fanfiction.net did not disappoint. But we'll get to the second story in a bit. So Toaster Face. A brave little toaster crossover with Lady Gaga. The author, dead or dead. I figured you would call yourself dead or alive, but dead or dead, it's like, you're dead or you're dead. I don't know. They've only written one story. I wonder why. And obviously it was this story. It was written back in 2012, so I think that was roughly around the time that Lady Gaga really started to take off. It only has one review. Again, I wonder why. I guess other people have done videos on this story, so you can count those as reviews, but when it comes to fanfiction.net, only one review. Right, let's get into it. So the story starts off with this old man Jenkins. He has like a utility shop and it's really going under. He sees a gentleman walking down the road, so he picks up a toaster and he chases after him and convinces the man to buy the toaster. This man turns out to be an acquaintance of Lady Gaga. In fact, he is her lover. So he brings the toaster back home and says it's like this cool vintage toaster and that they can display it on a mantelpiece in their home. I don't care if it's a vintage toaster or not. That's not something that you put on display. Not on a mantelpiece, at least. I don't know. But I digress. So some time passes. And Lady Gaga's on tour. And she starts to hear like a weird shuffling sound. And at first she thinks that one of her fans had snuck into the hotel room. So she's a little worried. Maybe it wasn't a hotel room. I think it was, no, it was a trailer. No, her tour bus. I'm sorry. It was a tour bus. And she hears that the shuffling is coming from one of the suitcases. So she opens up the suitcase, and for some reason, the bloody toaster is inside of there. And the toaster, who's, obviously the brave little toaster, starts talking to her. And he admits that he's one of her biggest fans. Now, how would you think Lady Gaga would react to this? You think she would scream bloody murder and call like an exorcist? Or do you think she would be like somewhat fascinated and make friends with the toaster? Maybe one of those two options. But no, in this story, she decides she wants to fuck it. That's right. She wants to fuck a toaster. A toaster. A toaster. A bloody toaster! A bloody... I digress. I mean, there's more comfortable things you could be fucking if you're going to insist on fucking kitchen appliances. A rolling... Well, no, not a rolling pin. That would give you splinters. You know what? No, there's no kitchen appliance you should be fucking because that's not what they're for. If you want to stick something up there that's not a penis, buy a bloody dildo. That's what those are for. Not a bloody toaster. So they do the act, and it gets very descriptive, and it kind of enters into Comics Nick's territory in a sense. It mentions that apparently Lady Gaga has 2 penises, because this is one of those stupid stories where they like to make fun of Lady Gaga looking like a man, which I never understood why people tried to say that about her. It's like, she doesn't look like a man. She does not look like a man. She does not look like a man. She is very much a woman, and if you think she looks like a man, maybe you should get your eyes checked. But I digress. So they have bloody sex, and at some point she explodes into shit, like as in she poops all over the place, because why not? And then a little bit later on in the story, she goes to take a bath and for some reason forgets that she still has the bloody toaster up her crotch and that he's plugged into an outlet. So apparently his cord is so long that it's stretching from the kitchen part of the tour bus to the bathroom. And the story ends with her being found by the paparazzi, covered in shit, dead, with a toaster, a rusty toaster, might I add, shoved up her crotch. And that's the end of the story. I made the mistake of reading this story right after I woke up. Not a good idea. I probably should have had a cup of coffee first. But no, I'm like, oh, I have a request from my little kitty. There, I might as well just get it over with. I go and I read it and I'm like, I kid you not, I was sitting in front of the laptop after reading it, just staring off into space, trying to comprehend what I bloody read. If there is a plus about this story, at least it was short. At least it was short. I mean, I guess you can say the spelling and grammar wasn't bad. No typos, really. Story was just nonsensical. The sex was bloody disgusting and nonsensical. And I don't know. I don't know why people think gross sex is appealing, because it's not. It's disgusting. What is with people like, hey, they got covered in shit and pain? It's like, ew. Go to the bathroom before you have sex. How is that? Ugh. Nasty. Nasty. So the second story. This story is called Gaga for MJ. MJ. Who is MJ, you might ask? Well, if you're thinking Mary Jane or MJ from the new Spider-Man movies, you're mistaken. But if you're thinking of the King of Pop, you are correct. This is a story about not one, but 2 real people. Lady Gaga and Michael Jackson being an item. Where do I begin with this story? Again, this story is also a one-shot. It's rated M. Do not ask why. It really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. Only has 1 review, and this was published more recently in March of 2016. So the first thing I will mention about this story is that it starts off in the year 1987 at the MTV Music Video Awards. Lady Gaga was born in 1986, in March of 1986 to be exact, and these awards took place in September of 1987, meaning she would have been a year and a half if she were to attend these awards. But no, apparently, Lady Gaga is a Time Lord, and she traveled back in time to release her modern-day music in the 80s. Either that or the author just didn't bother doing their bloody research. Lady Gaga is not that old. She's only like, 35. 35? 86? Yeah. 35 or 36. She's not that old. She's not that old. I mean, she was alive in 87, but she was a bloody baby. But I digress. So the story starts off at these awards. Lady Gaga is up for nomination against Michael Jackson for several of her hits that she released, apparently in the year 1987. How Lady Gaga is in the beginning of the story is utterly ridiculous. She is very vain and cocky acting and just obnoxious, which is not how she is in real life. But I digress. Obviously, Michael Jackson ends up winning all of the rewards she was nominated for, and she doesn't take kindly to this. She's very jealous and being a sore loser about it. And apparently, in this universe, she's friends with Madonna, and Madonna and Michael Jackson are dating. So, Lady Gaga ends up getting invited to a Thanksgiving dinner by Madonna and Michael Jackson. It apparently is at Michael's house, although she doesn't know this yet. So she gets herself bloody drunk, makes a complete ass out of herself, talking about how he didn't deserve to win those awards, that she should have won those awards, and is just making a complete ass out of herself. So Madonna gets her to calm down, and Michael takes her upstairs so she can rest. Fast forward, she wakes up like in the morning, and she doesn't remember immediately what happened. And she's wondering why Michael is there. And he pretty much explains that this is his house and he was the one who invited her. So she's shocked by this and feels embarrassed that she was treating him badly. And then when she is told about how she acted and she remembers it, she's mortified and feels awful about it. But Michael takes it with a grain of salt and seems all fine and dandy about it. Then all of a sudden, Lady Gaga realizes that she's attracted to Michael Jackson. So he goes to take her home in a limo. And he's attracted to her as well. And he kisses her. And he's like, oh, God, forget I did this. So she tries to forget that he did this. Fast forward a little bit. They're at a dinner date at his house. Madonna's obviously there because, she's dating Michael Jackson. And Lady Gaga is trying to flirt with Michael, right there with Madonna being right there, like she's doing stuff with her foot under the table, like rubbing her foot up against his leg and then putting her foot on his groin, and he's getting all flustered and whatnot. And Madonna she knows something weird is going on with Michael, but she's not putting the pieces together. So, he excuses herself and Lady Gaga feels guilty because, how she's acting is very inappropriate. So, again, he goes to take her home. And he pretty much says that, he is attracted to her, but this can't work because he's with Madonna. So he gives into at least kissing her, but that's going to be the last of, their shenanigans. And they both stay true to it. They get over their flirtation with each other, and they become good friends. So about a year passes, and Michael, he ends up walking in on Madonna, cheating on him with another man. Yes, it's one of those stories. So he's obviously upset, and Lady Gaga's obviously pissed off at Madonna for breaking Michael's heart. And apparently a month goes by, and throughout this month, Lady Gaga's being very supportive with Michael, like comforting him and, not being inappropriate with him, but just being there for him, being a good friend. So a month passes, and apparently he's over Madonna. It doesn't work like that. It takes more than a bloody month to get over someone. But I digress. He has his sister over, and Lady Gaga goes to visit him, and she's greeted by his sister Janet. And, for some reason, she admits to Janet that she does love Michael. And Janet's like, that's nice and all, but you might want to keep this to yourself for a bit. I mean, you can tell him eventually, just give him some space, he's still recovering from Madonna. And, Lady Gaga agrees. But unbeknownst to both of them, Michael was listening outside the door the entire time, and he heard about Lady Gaga's confession. So after Janet leaves, he's trying to get, Lady Gaga to admit what she said, but she, is being respectful of Janet and doesn't, want to admit it to him. So, he eventually brings her back home, is about to leave. Like, she already goes back into her home, and he's about to leave, but then he tells his limo driver to turn around, and he goes back to her house and knocks on the door and, tries to get her to admit to it, because he admits, I heard what you said to my sister. I want you to say it to me in person. And she's like embarrassed, and it's like, oh no, I can't. So he kind of forces himself on her, like by kissing her, and says, even if you can't say it to me right now, can you at least tell me if you were telling the truth? And then she says, yes, I love you. So here's the scene that is supposedly the M rating. It just says that they end up making love, and then they lived happily ever after the end. It didn't get into detail about anything. There wasn't anything graphic in the story at all to warrant it to have a bloody M rating. This story should be rated T, not M. There wasn't even any swearing. You mention sex, but you don't go into detail. I mean, for a story that was almost 7,000 words, it was very lackluster. It read like a summary for most of it. And then the second half of the story, it got really bad with the grammar. Like, the beginning was pretty decent with, like, having all this right words or right letters capitalized and whatnot. But then after the second half, they were forgetting to capitalize certain words. They had typos scattered about. They had, like, one word oddly capitalized for some reason. Hey! It's like, why is that capitalized? It's like, I felt like they were rushing the end of it. I don't know, but it was not good. And how Lady Gaga was written in the beginning was just atrocious. It's like you had her be a complete ass. And then the whole thing, like, technically Michael cheated on Madonna first. I mean, yes, he only kissed Lady Gaga, but that's still cheating. But the story does the classic, oh, well, we're going to justify it because it turns out that she went and slept with another man. So because she did it, it's okay. It's like, no. He was still being disloyal when he kissed Lady Gaga. I mean, he stopped himself from having it escalate further, but it's still cheating. It's still cheating. Doesn't justify it. The story, both of these stories were so bad. Both of them were bad. Now, I'm assuming the author of this story, which the author is Mad for the Hatter, by the way, they've written 2 stories. And the other one is literally the name of their username is Mad for the Hatter. And the other story that they wrote is called Mad for the Hatter, which is also rated M. It's only 1 chapter. It doesn't say it's complete, so I don't know. I'm not touching that one, no. Because I am not that impressed with this Gaga for MJ one, which was not good. And again, it should have been broken up into chapters, honestly. It really should have been. It's like almost 7,000 words. But I digress. It could have been fleshed out, I don't know. Just writing stories about real people. I don't know. It's like they're real people. I don't know how Lady Gaga would react if she, saw either of these stories. I mean, she might prefer the one about her and Michael Jackson, because at least, in both stories she was written atrociously, but I don't know. I mean, at least this one wasn't being disrespectful to how she looked. At least this one would talk about how pretty she is. But still, both stories. And like, Michael Jackson's bloody dead. Come on, let the man rest. I mean, I guess this isn't the worst story about him. Meg read a few doozies back in her heyday as the FanFic Critic. But I digress. Just don't write story. Well, no, I'm not going to bother saying that because people are just going to do it anyway. They're just going to do it anyway. They're just going to do it. It is what it is, I suppose. Well, thank you for watching today's episode. If you liked it, please click on the like button. Leave a comment if you could. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I would greatly appreciate it. Well, I will see you all next week. Until then, cheerio.